All right, this video is going to be a bit of an epic one. We're going to cover quite a lot. So make sure you've got yourself a comfy chair and a coffee. We're going to be covering off what is N8N and why should you care. Then we're going to go through the basic setup. So we'll look at creating an account, how to navigate the application itself, what templates are available, and having a look around the canvas. Next, I'm going to deep dive into workflow and using Google Drive and Gmail. The reason I've selected this is because using the Gmail apps or Google apps within N8N is something you really want to know how to do, but it's just a little bit more complicated than nearly every other tool on the platform that is commonly used. So we deep dive into that, cover that off so you can use it from the get-go. And then following that, I'm going to go through some tutorials. First is around AI agents, what they are and how to build your first one. Then we'll do an SEO AI agent, a marketing agent, a video generation with N8N. We will build a SEO keyword tracker with AI automation. And then I'll show you how to build a helpful AI agent. All the templates that come out of these tutorials will be available 100% free, and the details will be shown within the video and in the description. So with that said, let's get started. First, I want to point out what's happening in the AI space. If you go to Google Trends and you just put in AI automation, you can see this. The interest in this particular topic has absolutely exploded in recent years. And if we drill down a little bit on this and we take a look at Make.com, N8N and Zapier, which sort of all operate in the same space, you can see N8N is actually off the charts compared to the other products. Its growth has been just mind-blowing. And the reason for that is it works so well with AI and it allows so many more people to get more out of AI and automations. So this is why we're seeing the growth with N8N. And I think that's why it's worth sitting down today and going through this video and learning these skills. Okay, so I have done a presentation on N8N previously, and I'm going to quickly summarize this one because I know there's not a huge love for sitting through boring presentations. I will link this in the description so you can go through it at your own pace if you want to, but I'm just going to run through this high level and extract out the key parts that I think are really handy for what's coming up. The big question, what is N8N? So it is workflow automation. It has a visual interface and it integrates with over 400 other apps. And what you want to do is think of N8N like digital plumbing. Basically, it just connects up different apps and services and allows you to automate the process. Why would you want to choose it over alternatives? Well, it's cost effective, it's highly customizable, and you're not locked into any particular vendor. Here are the core concepts that basically work within every single workflow, every single process that you automate. With N8N, we have these things called nodes, and you can just think of them like Lego blocks. You connect your nodes with connections, and then you can execute your workflows using different execution nodes, which could be a webhook, it could be a Telegram account to trigger it. So we have a process of trigger, a process, and then we have an action. There are a couple of different types of nodes to be aware of. So trigger nodes, every single workflow will start with a trigger node. Then we have our regular nodes. These are the ones that pretty much do the work. They will be calling APIs. They might be manipulating the data using loop, split, merge, that type of thing, transformation. And then the output is the final node. Often it will send off the data to Slack or an email or a Google Sheet, whatever it is. These are the essential nodes that every single user should be aware of. HTTP request. So this is where we're making a request to another application and getting some data. Set nodes. These will be covered off more a bit later, but basically they allow you to clean and structure your data. If node for decision making. A function node, this is one of the most powerful nodes in N8N because it allows you to add custom JavaScript within the automation to modify, extract, present, render information cleanly. And there's a wait node and an email node. Now, it's worth mentioning sub workflows. Basically, these are like stored procedures, or they're really handy for repetitive tasks. So If you have an automation or different automations that always do a certain process, which it could be as simple as getting the current weather, there's a couple of steps to that. You would move it into a sub workflow, and that way you don't have to build it every time. You can just call that sub workflow and bring the data back without building the nodes each time. Now with sub workflows, there are two types. You have synchronous and asynchronous, and you can think of it like this. In a synchronous workflow, it's wait and block. So it might have the main workflow, it goes off, gets the weather, but it won't continue until the actual weather is brought back, if that was the example, and then it continues on. But a asynchronous workflow, which is a fire and forget, basically the main workflow keeps running. It just sends off the request as it goes, says go get the weather, I don't care about what the weather is, and it carries on its own sweet way. These are really handy just to save time, save effort, and just be able to avoid repetitive building when you use the same kind of workflows. So how is N8N used in the real world? Well, you'll see a lot of automations around email management, social media, reporting, bringing all sorts of data together and consolidating data and reporting for lead qualification, processing documents, and there is huge opportunities in the e-commerce space. Now, there are a couple of different ways you can access N8N. You can use N8N Cloud and you can self-host. Now, everything in this video is going to be using N8N Cloud. We will set up an account and start building on the cloud version. It's just easier if you're getting started. If you're looking to sort of go professional in this space, self-hosting is probably worth doing because it's probably more cost effective and you have unlimited automation runs. Some of the more advanced techniques you might hear about in N8N use things like loops and iterations. We've covered a little bit on sub workflows, expressions and variables. These are your code node, splits and merge, cron jobs. This is really kicking off your workflows on a schedule, and error recovery, which we're not going to cover in this tutorial. All right, let's get into N8N itself. If you don't have an account, no worries. Just head to n8n.io. They've got a very cool website. You can have a bit of a look through and you can see all the different features and cool things that you can do with N8N. But if you want to get started, just hit on Get Started for free. I think you get a 14-day free trial. You can enter in all your details here. They didn't used to require a credit card, but I think they do now. I'm not going to complete this process because I already have an account, so I can jump across to that in a second. But just fill it in, and then we will head over to the canvas. All right, so once you've signed up, you should be in a space that looks something like this. Down the left-hand side, we have all our menu items. I don't use this side of the app very much, but occasionally I do have to go to the admin panel to check that I'm using the most up-to-date version, because sometimes they do release updates and you can force the upgrade. So if you go to the admin panel, you can see the instance is running. And then if you click on manage, you can see your plan details, set your time zone, and you can double check the version that you're running in case they've done an upgrade and you're not seeing the latest nodes made available. Just good to know. Go back to the dashboard and then you can click on open instance to take you back to where we were. Alrighty, so below admin panel, we also have templates. Now in here, there is a bazillion templates. So if I just type in, say, marketing, you can see we've got 31 results, and these will be all marketing-based templates that you can download for free and get all the information you need to get started. So if I click on this one, for example, use for free, it has all the documentation, so what it does, what it's perfect for, the setup, so required APIs and credentials, database schema, the whole bit. So it's worth taking a look through these templates. If you've got an interest in a specific area with N8N, head to the templates, put it in the search, see what's there. So you may not have to build what it is you're after, or you only might have to make some minor modifications to an existing one. So it's a great resource and definitely worth checking out when you've got a bit of time to have a look through it. All right, so now we want to create our first workflow, and it's going to be really basic, but the key takeaway on this one is we're going to set up the Google credentials, which are used in so many of the automations, but they can be a little bit intimidating if you're just getting started. So we're going to get this out of the road up front. So to create our first workflow, we're just going to click on the plus button, and then we'll go to workflow, personal, and then we hit the canvas. So first thing we're going to do is add a trigger. Every workflow has a trigger. To do that, hit the plus, and we're just going to have trigger manually. So we'll move that over here somewhere. Next, we're going to add a couple of different Google apps to our workflow. So the first one is going to be upload a file. So we'll just go to Google Drive, and then I want to upload a file. So for now, we won't do anything. We'll just go back. And now we're going to add in Gmail because it's another common app that's used in automations. So go to plus, Gmail, go send a message. Okay, the next one we want is Google Sheet. So Google Sheets, and we'll do append or update a row in a sheet. Okay, I'll get rid of those errors in a second, don't worry about them. Now the next step is to add credentials. There's actually two methods to doing this, but the one people get stuck with is using Google Cloud to get their OAuth credentials. If you want to add something like append or update a row in a Google Sheet, it's pretty straightforward. When you do your authentication here, you literally can just sign in with your Google account and that's it. You're on your way. However, if you want to use services like Gmail and Google Drive, things are a little bit different, but no problem. I've got you covered here. Let's just click on one of these. Now, we just want to create a new credential, and you can see it's asking for a client ID and a client secret. Now, there is documentation here. You can click on Open Docs, which I've got here. I'm not going to read right through this, but the first step is the prerequisite. You've got to have a Google Cloud account. So if you head over to Google Cloud, so it's cloud.google.com, you'll get here, create your account, it's free. Once you're logged in, you'll get to a page that looks like this. Now, what we need to do is create a new project. So up the top somewhere, you'll be able to create a new project. I'll just click on here and go to New Project. Now, I'm going to give it a name. I'll just call this Demo and hit Create. Okay, so our project's been created. Now we can just select it. Next, we have a whole bunch of options down the bottom here. We want to select API and Services. And then we want to click on OAuth Consent Screen. Okay, so we'll get started. Give it a name. I'll call it Demo. We do have to enter in a support email address here, so I'll just select mine. And then we'll go Next. Internal, that's all we need for this purpose. Next. Contact email address. I'll just enter in mine again. Next, I agree, and continue, create. Okay, that's done. So the next step is we need to set up our client. So go over to Client on the menu and click on Create Client. We'll go for a web app, give it a name, we'll call it Demo. And then we need to set up this Authorized Redirect URI. So we'll just click on Add the URI. And this is where we need to go back to N8N. If we go back to N8N, when we open this up, you'll see this OAuth redirect URL. We just want to copy this, go back over into Google Cloud and paste that in. And then we just want to click on Create. Okay, so now you can see we have a client ID and a client secret. So we can copy the client ID. And then I'll copy the secret. Okay, the next step is we need to sign in with Google using the account that we set up our Google Cloud account with. So we'll go to sign in, and it wants to get access to all of our information, and it's Google, so that's okay. So we'll just go to allow, and you can see connection successful. So we have successfully connected N8N with our Google Drive. But there is a few more steps we need to do. And you can see down the bottom here, it says, make sure you have enabled the Google Drive API to your Google Cloud Console. So to do that is pretty straightforward. We just go back over into Google Cloud. We'll close this down. And up the top, we just want to search for Google Drive. And you can see the first result here, Google Drive API. And you just want to click on Enable. Now, we also have Gmail set up here, so we want to use the Gmail API. So once you have that authorization set up for any of the Google services, you may need to add the access to the API. You definitely have to do for Drive and for Gmail, but if you're using this and you get some weird error, it's probably the API. So we'll go back over to here, and I'll put in Gmail API, and enable. Okay. So that is it. If we can upload a file using N8N directly into our Google Drive now. We can create a new file, etc. And we can also send emails from our Gmail using this automation. With our Google credentials done and our basic knowledge of adding nodes onto the canvas, I want to introduce this idea of an AI agent. And I think one of the best ways to do that is to cut across to a video I recently did explaining AI agents and what they are.
What is an AI agent anyway? An AI agent is software that uses AI and tools to accomplish a goal that requires multiple steps. Agents are the new apps.
I think every business is going to have an AI agent that their customers can talk to in the future.
In this video, I'm going to give you the most straightforward explanation of what an AI agent is. Think of AI as a super smart brain, a genius if you like, that knows everything but it does nothing. An AI agent is the brain's best helper. It's like its boss. It turns the smart ideas into action. It gets stuff done. So think of them like this. Here's the 1, 2, 3. First, they understand. AI agents can listen carefully to what you need. 2, they think. They're super smart and they find the best solution given the parameters that they have to work with. And third, super important, they act. They take action and get things done. Now, let's take a look at some basic AI agents in action. I've got 6 examples here. We have a customer service agent, research assistant, scheduling agent, email assistant, code review agent, and a content creator agent. And they all work in a very similar way. The AI agent understands, thinks, and acts. If I click on a customer service agent, for example, understand, the customer asks, where is my order? The agent thinks. It might check a database, a repository, or some other tool it has access to. And it finds the tracking information, identifies the delivery status, and then it acts. It provides the tracking number and estimated delivery date. Now, this is different to just sending a link back to say check your tracking status. It actually can look up the day, the time, where it is, and provide that. It thinks and acts. Now, at this point, you might be wondering, what does an AI agent actually look like? Well, I like to break it into 2 components. First, we have AI agent component 1, which is the interface. Most interfaces will have some kind of input and then you'll have an output. So it could be as easy as an iPhone or a Telegram message, a Slack message. And if I click on, say, one of our examples, where is my order? AI agent goes away and thinks, and then just like magic, you get your response. Another example that I think highlights an AI agent even better is that of a AI agent meeting scheduler. Schedule a meeting with the marketing team next week. Now you can see the response back. I've scheduled a meeting with the marketing team for Tuesday, January 23rd, 2 o'clock. Calendar invites have been sent to all 5 team members and I've booked conference room B. Now to do this, the AI agent, when it did its thinking part and understood the problem, it had to find the team members, check their calendars, find a good time and book a meeting room and send the confirmations and reply to the person that asked for this to be done. That is the power of an AI agent. Now let's take a look at component 2, the workflow. This is what's going on between the input and the output. So what you're looking at here is an example of a scheduling agent workflow. Every AI agent runs on a workflow. When the user makes the request about I want a meeting, that information is received. That may be via a webhook, but the point is this is the trigger. Once that user makes the request, the workflow is triggered. The information is passed into the AI agent, which has a couple of components. The first one being a brain. In this instance, it's the Anthropic chat model. That is our super genius that knows how to analyze the problem, and then you let the agent come up with the actions and solution. For a scheduling agent, it needs access to a calendar. So in this case, we've got Google Calendar. The agent can check the availability, book the meeting rooms, but it also needs to be able to send out confirmation email. So we hook up another tool, which is Gmail. The agent then emails out the confirmations and replies back to the user to say, all done. So in a workflow, it will be built up by a number of nodes, and that's what all of these are. In technical terms, each one of these blocks or components is a node in the workflow. And if we look at the other examples I showed earlier, they can all be represented as a workflow. So this is customer service agent workflow, and you can see here it has a chat model, and it also has memory and a database. It has memory because if you're going to chat to someone, you need to be able to store that context to keep the conversation going. A research assistant, it has a web research tool. This could be something like Perplexity. So every model will use different nodes and components to build it out. Now, at this point, you might be wondering, what is the difference between AI automation and an AI agent? So a traditional automation is fixed and rule-based. In this example, a form might be submitted by a user. The action is when that form comes in, an email sent out, and some data is saved to a CRM system. It has the characteristics of predefined rules, same output for every input, fast, reliable, and limited adaptability. But if we look at an AI agent, say a form is sent in or a chat received by a customer, the next step is the AI agent actually analyzes for context and intent. And based on how it assesses that message, it might route the message to support or to sales, and it will craft a personalized response appropriate to the context of the question that was asked. So it has the characteristics of it understands context and nuance, it adapts to unique situations, it learns and improves, and it handles complex scenarios. All AI agents basically work in the same way. We start over here on the left and we have an input trigger. So this, think of it like the user message or the boss. You send a task in to an employee to get the job done. So this big node here in the middle, just think of it like an employee. This is the AI agent. And the AI agent can handle instructions and it has a brain. Typically this brain will be Anthropic, Google Gemini. Now, if we think of the AI agent as an employee has a job description. So if we follow this line down here to the node system prompt, basically just think of the system prompt as the AI agent's job description. Now, like any good employee, it has access to tools to get the job done, and so does an AI agent. We can connect various tools to the agent so it can actually complete the task in the best manner possible. Also, using the analogy of an employee has memory, so you don't have to keep repeating the same things. It understands context, what it was asked, and what it needs to do. So we have memory. When the employee has been given a task by the boss, it uses the system prompt, the tools, and its memory and the brain collectively to get the job done, and then it will provide the output. So that is how it works, and if you understand this, you can pretty much start putting together any kind of AI agent you like, but we're going to build an SEO AI agent. So let's get started with constructing the workflow. We're over in N8N, let's get into it. First thing, just head up to the plus button in the top left, create a workflow. In Personal's fine, and then we want to add our first node. That first node is going to be a chat trigger node. So we just add it by going up here and typing in chat trigger. We don't have to do anything, so we can go back to the canvas. The next node we want is actually our AI agent. So just hit the plus button, type in AI agent. There it is. Now I'm also going to add the chat model, the memory and the tool, and then we'll configure the authorization and those credentials so we can access them. So with the chat model, I'll go with Google Gemini Chat. It was only added to N8N yesterday, so it's quite new. And you can see here, it's grabbed the Gemini 2.5 Flash, which is fine. Next is memory. We'll just add simple memory. And this is going to allow our chat model to understand the context if we have back and forth conversations. Next, we will add perplexity. This is going to be our research tool that is going to go out to the web, that is going to be key to our SEO AI agent's job. So perplexity. And there it is. Thinking back to our previous diagram, this is the boss. This is where a message is going to come in. This is the employee. It now has access to a brain to think, understand, and act. It has memory, and now it also has a tool being perplexity. Next step is to add our credentials and then our system prompt, which will give the job description for our AI agent. The first credential we're after is our Google Gemini chat model key. Let's grab that. To get our Google Gemini key, we just need to go to aistudio.google.com. You'll get to this page and you'll see up the top here, Get API Key. When you click on it, it'll say Create an API Key. Click here, and then it'll ask you to select your Google Cloud project that you want that key associated with. So if you do not have a Google Cloud project set up, you need to do that. It's pretty straightforward. If you head over to console.cloud.google.com, you'll get to a page that looks something like this. It's totally free to log into and set up your project. To create a new project, you just click up the top, and if you don't have any projects, you'll just click this button here, New Project, give it a name, save it. Once you've done that, refresh your page over in AI Studio, and when you click on this drop-down box, as you can see here, N8N Workflows, that's the one I have here. Then all you do is select the project you created and create API key in existing project. Copy the API key, and then we go back over into N8N and add it into our node. And now's the easy bit. We just open up Gemini Chat. You go up here and click on this little pencil icon. You can see I've already got mine set up, but if we click on this here, the only thing you need to do is paste the API key in right here where it says API key and press save. So now we'll grab our Perplexity API key and we're just about there. To get a Perplexity API key is super easy. Just head to perplexity.ai, go down to your account. When you click on that, you can then add an API key. So we just press Create API Key, copy it, then we go back to N8N and set it up. So just click on your Perplexity node. Again, see the little pencil icon, click on it, paste your API key in there, and you are good. So for Perplexity, we do need to choose a model. Now this will depend on the use case. So we're going to be doing SEO research to generate an amazing bit of content and some other metadata. What I'm going to choose is Sonar Pro, which is sort of somewhere in the middle between Sonar and Deep Research. This one takes quite a while to run, but Sonar Pro, nice and quick, and it costs only maybe 1 or 2 cents per run. For this text area here, all we need to do is click on this, let the model define the parameter. So super easy, that's it. Now at this point, we can actually run the model, but keep in mind that we haven't given the job description to the AI agent yet. If you think back to our initial diagram, we had this job description, we haven't provided it, so it's going to give a fairly rudimentary response, but that's okay. We can see that it's all working and we can do the final bit of configuration. So if we click on Open Chat, I can just say hello, and all the nodes should fire up. And it did exactly what we'd expect. The AI agent wouldn't call Perplexity because it has no reason to. It simply responded with, as you can see here in the output, hello, how can I assist you today? If we now go into the AI agent, we can configure it to make sure the correct input is coming in that we want it to assess. If we click on this one here and we go to define below, we can just drag chat input over into the prompt, and that's what you're seeing here. And if you want to see what this actual value is, you can click on this little parameter. We can see the JSON input is actually equal to hello, which is what we'd expect. So now we're going to give the job description or the system prompt to the AI agent so it knows what its job is, what tools it has, and what the expectation of the output should be. Just go back into the AI agent, and down here you'll see add an option, and that's where we can add a system message. At the moment, it just says you're a helpful assistant, which isn't that helpful at all. If we click in here, now I'm going to paste in a system prompt. So this is a fairly detailed system prompt. I will make it available in the community if you want to take a copy of it. In essence, what it's saying is this AI agent is a AI-powered SEO content strategist, and its primary function is to act as a sophisticated research analyst and copywriter. And what it will do, based on the keyword or key phrase that we provide it via the trigger, it will go away and it'll do research with Perplexity, and then it'll use its brain, being Google Gemini, to generate the content, being title, meta description, the content, and it'll also give us a bit of a summary as to the reasoning why it did it and some of the expected keyword volumes. To test out our model, all we need to do is click on Open Chat. Now this is our keyword, our key phrase. So I'm going to put in product photography and see if we can generate a top article around that keyword. And you can see the model was triggered. Our AI agent had to think about the question, it understood it, and then it used the tool, which is what it should do, go off to Perplexity and do some research on the web, synthesize that information, bring it back, write the article. Okay, so the process completed successfully. It's given it a title here, Evaluate Your Brand, Mastering Product Photography in the Digital Age. It also gave some options for different potential SEO titles. It gave the meta titles, it gave meta descriptions to choose from. And then we have a table of contents and then the article itself, which I can tell you is around 2,500 words. Our AI agent can take an input and then go away and do research on the web with Perplexity and then craft a high quality blog article. Now at this point you might be wondering, well, that's great, but where does my blog article go? So if we just minimize the chat window for a minute. So basically you have full control over the input trigger and the output where you want this to go. For example, instead of having a chat message to trigger it, you could use Telegram, you could use a Google Sheet. And in terms of where you want the output to go, some common ones would be something like WordPress. So if you click here, type in WordPress, create a post, add your credentials, and then the article will be sent to WordPress. Likewise, it could be Webflow, create an item, and then we have Webflow connected, add your credentials, and you're good. Some other options that are quite common would be a Google document. Now for this one, you actually create a document first and then you update a document, but I think you get the picture. You can use all the tools available within N8N to send that data. You could do additional processing, whatever you like. The main thing is, I hope you've understood how to build your first AI agent, the role of the agent, what gives it its job description, how you connect the brain, the memory, and the tools. And now with those skills, you should be able to build lots of different agents. I'm going to show you how to build your first lead generation AI agent. This is a really cool one because you don't need any prior experience to be able to do this, and it works for any industry at all. I'm going to be focused on generating leads for AI agency and SEO, but you can just modify the system prompt, this bit over here, to be any industry you like. So the way it's going to work is we will have an input trigger here. Then we are going to scrape an area for an industry, a geographical area, and an industry that we define. Then we go into this AI agent here, and the AI agent is going to be directed to do some research using a research tool, and then it'll formulate a data sheet on our prospective lead, and it'll generate an email that will be personalized to the lead. When that happens, the email will be sent out, and then we'll store all the information that we gathered, including the email that we sent, in a Google Doc. So let's go and build it. This will be the complete lead gen automation that we will build using N8N. We'll hook it all up and then we'll run it and you can see how it works, and also show you how you can modify it for your industry, your region, and that type of thing. First step is to create a new workflow. To create a new workflow, just hit the plus button and create workflow. When you're at this step, we'll build out the first sort of row, the first few nodes if you like, and then we'll configure them. So the first one is we just want a trigger to kick off the workflow. It's going to be a manual trigger. So we just click this one here. Our next node is going to be to Appify, our scraping tool, and that's going to be a HTTP request. I won't configure it just yet. We will add on we want a sort and then a filter. So we'll sort our results, and then I'm going to add a filter node. I will also add a limit node just to restrict the amount of results that we generate into our looping process. So to do that, we just go for limit. So now we will configure our request to Appify to get our leads. And to do that, we do need an Appify account. Okay, so this is Appify. You need to have one of these accounts. So if you don't have one, just head to appify.com, get yourself an account. You do get $5 free credit, and that's plenty to do what we're doing today. So once you've got the account, you want to head over to this particular scraper here. In Appify, they call them actors. So what we're looking for is the Google Maps email extractor actor. I've set it up to search for accounting firms in a certain region. So what you do in the search terms area, say for accounting, I've got accounting, accountant, and accountants. For the location, I've just added Melbourne. And for the number of places to extract, I've entered 10, the language English, and that's all I've done. Once you've got that in there, you can hit start and run your actor. So we'll press start. What this is doing, it's going to scrape Google Maps for all the information relating to accounting businesses. Now, once the extraction process has run, you just click up here on API. And what we're looking for is, and it's this one here, get dataset items. So all we need to do is actually copy this, and then we'll go back over into N8N. If we open this up, it's going to be a GET request. Now, I have jumped forward a little bit now because we have to break this URL into two parts. So all I've done is from the URL we got from Appify, you can see here I've pasted in everything up to the word items and then the question mark. The important thing in this that will be different in your build will be this here. This is the data set, and it's unique to every data set that gets run in Appify. Apart from that, that's all you need in the URL. Scroll down a bit further. If you toggle on send query parameters, you just want to have the word token in the name, and for the value, this is the API key that was in the URL that you copied. So it's actually everything after the question mark, after the word tokens. Now, down in the send body, we want to turn this on. And to get the JSON, all we need to do is go back to Appify. And if you click on JSON, just copy this back to our automation. We'll click using JSON and then just paste in that JSON. Our scraping node is all set up. Now, in theory, I should be able to actually run this and get some results. So if I trigger it, you can see the workflow did kick off, and it has hit a roadblock at sort because we haven't configured that yet. So if we click into the sort node, super easy here. All we do is add a field to sort by. And it says here, enter the field name as text. And the one we want to sort on is total score. So I've just got to type in total score and ascending. So that is it. Now we can execute this step. And we're sorting all of our results based on the total score, which is the Google review score. Now we can move on to our filter. This is optional, but I'll just show you how I'm using it. If we click on the node, I've just entered in here the total score. If it's less than 5, include it. And if the total score exists. And the reason you might want to do this is if a business has a perfect review score, that might indicate they've got everything in order. So you might want to go for ones that are less than 5 that potentially need a bit of help. So I can actually run it so we can make sure it actually works. There you go, it's running, and you can see the first one here is 4.2, so it's knocked out any business that had a 5, which is what it should do. And at the top you can see it's kept 15 items and it's discarded 13. So we've got a tighter data set to work with now. The next one is the limit. This is really only in here because I'm doing this as a YouTube video and I don't want to process all this data. So I've limited it to 1. So if you're setting up and testing, it's worthwhile just setting a limit so you can restrict the processing each time you do a test. Okay, now we need to add our loop node. Click on this one and we'll type in loop. And you can see this one here, it says loop over items to split into batches. We just grab that one. Now I just need to move a few things around here so we can see it properly. The first thing I'm going to do is delete this and delete this. For the looping node, we're going to connect this to an AI agent. So AI agent, and we'll move our agent down here so I can see it. Now we can just connect up our chat model. So I'm going to use Google Gemini, but you can use Anthropic or OpenAI or OpenRouter. I'll go with Gemini. And you can see here, I already have my credentials set up for Gemini. If you'd like to know how to do that, I will put a link above here somewhere because I go through it in a previous video. But the default model selected is Gemini Flash. So I don't actually have to do anything just yet here. And for the tools, I'm going to add Perplexity. With Perplexity, I want to use Sonar Pro. And for the expression, we just want to click on here and let the model define the parameter. And that's all we need to do. You can see at the top here, it says I'm already connected to a Perplexity account. Again, if you want to know how to actually configure those credentials, the video link will just be above. Super easy, just run through it and come back. The next tool we need is our Gmail. So I'll add Gmail. Now to get set up with Gmail, pretty straightforward. If I click on this little pencil icon, you basically just sign into your Gmail account with Google, like I have, and then you're connected. So with that done, it's going to be a send operation to the subject. I'm going to leave the subject to let the model define it. It's going to be HTML, and the message, I will let the model define it. Now in this too, I am going to update this to an overriding email because it's a demo and I don't want all these leads to be spammed with my email. So typically you would click this, let the model define it. So you just click the magic icon here, but I will put a default in just to avoid spamming. So that is pretty much done. Now I'm just going to show you another pro tip with N8N. Because we don't want to keep wasting our credits with Apify or any other models that might cost, what we can do for the ones that have worked, so we've tested this works, this works, this works, and this works, what we can do is click on the three dots and click pin. And what it's going to do when we run this to do a test, it's going to use the data that's already there rather than actually go out and call more data and bring it back. Now, when I press execute the workflow, it'll sort of skip these and it'll go straight into the agent and run. But before we do that, we just need to add our system prompt and configure our agent because it's going to oversee this entire operation. If we go open up the AI agent, to be able to get the data, I need to execute the step to bring it in. Might get some errors, but that's just part of the process. Yep, we got an error. To fix our first error, what we want to do is change this connected chat trigger node to define below, and then we're just going to drag in website, because what we want to do is analyze the website, get Perplexity to go to the website, analyze it, bring back that report, and then let our AI model generate our research report and draft the email. So the next part we need is actually a system prompt, and to get that we go into add a system message. Its default is are you helpful, which isn't very helpful in this case. So we want to click on expression, and then I'm going to make it full screen, get rid of this. Now I'm going to paste in a big system prompt here. I will make it available in my community. I'll paste the prompt in. Scrolling down, this basically tells the AI agent exactly what its job description is and how it's to use the tools and when it's to use them. So I'm not going to read through all of this, but we'll run it and then you can see actually how it works. Now we should be ready to go. So if we hit execute workflow, we'll see what happens. So it's gone to Perplexity, which is what it should be doing based on that URL that's been provided. Now Google Gemini is analyzing the data that's come back and drafting an email. You can say it flicked across over here to Gmail. It sent the email, produced the report. It's run successfully. Okay, taking a quick look at the email that was sent. So the Gmail did send and it went to the address I set it as. If I didn't set the address, it would have actually used this accounting firm's real email address that it found in the data scrape. I won't read through it all, but the key bit here is that it actually customizes the email based on what it found when it researched the website. So you can see here, from what I can see, you might benefit from automated bookkeeping services, expense categorization, and client onboarding and appointment scheduling automation. On the SEO side, we help firms improve their online visibility and attract more clients. You can modify this, but it takes into account the website details, formulates an email, and it sends it. All right, now we'll just add the Google Docs. Google Docs, create a document for the title. We'll just use the title of the accounting firm. I have a folder that I've set as N8N, and you can just authenticate into Google Docs the same as the other Google applications. Now I'm just going to run this. Okay, so up here we have an ID. That's what we need to connect to our update the Google document, because we have a document ID. So I can close this one down. It's all done. Go back to Google Doc, update a document. Now for the URL, we have that URL or ID. So this is the ID. I can just drop that over there. And for the text, we just drag and drop the output from our AI agent. I'm just going to close this one down. We don't have to do anything else here. Then we can connect the node back to the start of the loop. Now if I run it, it will actually create the document and we can take a look at what that looks like. All right, so this is the report that gets generated. You get the basic business details, the overview, the services they offer, and then it looks at the automation opportunities, so cloud accounting, automated reconciliations, digital document management, etc. It tries to find out the technologies they use, not specified, but because it's an accounting firm, it probably use MYOB or Xero, and we have pain points, potential pain points, manual data entry, time-consuming document management, and then we have the email that's gone out. That will be generated for every single loop it goes through. Every accounting firm we scraped, it'll go through this, produce the document, and send the email. So back in Apify, this is what it would loop through. So now I'm just going to quickly tidy this up. Make sure you unpin all of these things that we pinned earlier. I've already unpinned them. Remove the limit. The other thing you might want to consider doing until you are comfortable with it is disconnecting the Gmail, test it a few times, and then hook up the Gmail. This system will validate a trending niche. It'll do the research, create a script, generate the complete video, and publish it to all social media channels, fully automatically to increase your reach. I'll teach you how to set this up step by step, including a deep dive into a new tool that allows the automation to integrate so easily with these social media channels. The tool is called Blotato, and it's a fraction of the cost of similar apps, and it's super powerful. So once this is set up, all you do is enter your niche for your video, and the automation does everything, including the setup and config for Blotato, and it can post to all of your social media channels simultaneously. With that one run, the automation can post to YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and a bunch of others. And what's great is since we're using no-code tools, anyone can do this even if you're a complete beginner. All you literally need to know is how to drag and drop, plus a bit of copy and paste, and you're all set. I actually started a second YouTube channel using this workflow and published a few videos to see what would happen. I will show you the full details of the channel and how they are performing at the end so you can check them out. To make this as easy as possible for you, all the resources and prompts you need to implement this N8N workflow is right here in the Online Ninja community. Now take special note of this .json file. You can download this and import it right into your N8N, and it will create the automation for you in one click. All right, let's build this thing from scratch. Once you're in N8N, you just want to click the plus button to create a new workflow, and then you'll get a screen that looks something like this. The first node we need in this automation is a scheduled trigger. To get that one set up is pretty straightforward. We're just going to click on this plus button and type in schedule. There it is there, schedule trigger. And over on the left-hand side, you get the choice of the interval. So days is the interval trigger, and then days between triggers, etc. So I'm just going to leave this as the default for now. But once you're set up, you might want to run this process every hour, every 8 hours, every day, whatever works for you. Next thing we need is a set field node. So to get that, we just again go up here and we go to set. You'll see this edit fields set. Click on this one. Now we've got manual mapping. We just need to add a field in here. Now I'm going to call this niche, and the value is going to be whatever the niche is we want our videos to be in. So for now, I'm just going to use N8N automation. And that is all we need to do here. So I can just exit out of this one. The next node in our automation is going to be SERP API. N8N actually has a node already built for that, so we can just leverage that. So we just type in SERP and you'll see it here, SERP API official. So that makes things pretty easy. And if we scroll down, what we're looking for is Google Trends. So we just click on this one and it's going to open up. And the first thing we'll do is connect our API. So if you just click on the little pencil icon, you'll get this form here and you just enter in the API key. If you don't have a SERP API account, just head over to serpapi.com, register, and the very first screen you get to, you'll be presented with your API key. So just copy it, paste it in here, and you're all good. Next thing we need to do is set this search query. And to do that, we need to execute the previous node. So I'm just going to click on this one. What you'll see is the data from the set node that we set up earlier. Just grab niche and drag it over here. This is just grabbing whatever the niche is we set in the previous node to carry that forward. There's nothing else we need to do here, so we can close this one down. That's done. Now, for our next node in the workflow, we need a code block. So just go up here, hit the plus, type in code, run custom JavaScript or Python. That will do. First thing we'll do is delete out all the code that's in here. And then I'm just going to go over to the instructions here. And we have the trend code block. So I'm just going to copy all of this. And we're going to paste it in here. Now, all that this is doing is actually analyzing whether the query that we've entered in, whether it's considered a high trending topic based on Google Trends data. Now that the code's added, we actually can execute the previous nodes. So that ran successfully. So there's nothing else we need to do here. I will add this code block here into the description in case you want to use it, but we can close this down now. Next, we need a filter. So again, up here, we'll type in filter. And what we want to do first is execute the previous nodes. So that successfully ran. What we want to do here is grab this trend status, drag and drop it up here. That's an expression now, and we want that if it's equal to strong upward, and we want to also add another condition here, and it'll be an or. We drag trend status across here again, and we'll put in moderate upward. Okay, and what that's going to do, it's going to analyze the data that came from Google Trends. If it's either strongly upward trending or moderately upward trending, the workflow will continue. So there's nothing else we need to do here, so we can close this one down and go back to the canvas. Next, we want to add in our perplexity model, and it's going to go and do some research for us. Now, if you type in perplexity here, you won't actually find anything. So not every tool is basically an available node in N8N, but what we can do instead is do a HTTP request. There it is there. The method is going to be post, because we're going to post some information over to Perplexity. And for the URL, I'm just going to grab it from the notes here. It is this one here. For the authentication, I'm just going to go down to set up a generic credential type. And in this list, I'm going to scroll down and we're going to go for header auth. And you can see it's grabbed Perplexity straight away. Now, at the end of the video, I'm going to show you for all the different API types, and you've never used it before, how you can actually set this up. There's a few different ways, but I'll show you the way that I've done it for this workflow. Now, the next thing we need to do is send the headers. So we just toggle this on and we'll enter in content type application JSON. That's all we need to do there. And we are going to send a body as well. We're going to be using JSON. To get the JSON body, if I go back to my notes here, we're actually just going to send this. Paste that in there. And that is actually all we need to do. Now, this is quite a small window here, and if you want to actually see it all, you can just click this little link here, and it'll open a larger modal, and you can see this is the input and this is what is coming out. So you can see here there's this JSON.query, and over on this side it's saying execute previous node for the preview. And because we haven't executed yet, it's not going to pass on that value. But now that that's set up, we can execute the previous node. And there you go. So Perplexity has now got the values it can use to pass on for its query. And if we open up this window again, we will see N8N automation is in here. So in terms of the Perplexity setup, we're all done. It's ready to go off and do some research. So we're just back on the main canvas here, and just a couple of tips. If you want to realign this as it gets bigger, you can just click on this one here. It says tidy it up. So it will recenter it and make it bigger, but you can also, zoom out, zoom in, etc. One thing you might notice also, we've got the schedule trigger, we've got the edit fields, so we've got our code block, our filter that we added, and now we have this HTTP request. Now that doesn't actually tell us much. So what is good practice is to go back in here and up the top, just rename it. So we'll call this Perplexity. That makes a bit more sense. All right, so our next node that we need is the OpenAI call, and that's going to go off, take the research data and generate a script for us. So type in OpenAI, and the one we want is to message a model. So if we just go through these, that's okay. OpenAI account, we're already connected here. There are instructions on how to do this later in the video, as previously mentioned. Resource, we're going to go with text, message a model, choose a model from a list. So what have we got here? Just want to go with, we don't need a very expensive one, so we'll go with one of the minis. Now for the prompt, this prompt is going to take the research from Perplexity and convert it into a script, and also put it in a structured format that we can use later in this workflow. I'm going to go back over to my notes. I've got this OpenAI expression here. I'm just going to copy it, go back over here, and you guessed it, I'm going to paste it in here. Now I'm getting some error messages here, and this is likely because I haven't actually ran the previous node to get these inputs. So if you get this, don't panic. Let's just run the node, and we should be able to either fix them or they'll clear themselves. Reference node doesn't, oh, okay. So let's go back to the canvas for a second, and I can show you what the problem is. I need to actually connect this into here, and now I actually hadn't had that link. Open it back up, and that's looking pretty good. The errors have gone. Now if we want to see what this does, we can run it, but first we'll just output the content as JSON, and we're good to go. So let's just run this one. And you can see Perplexity has returned its research on N8N automation. Now if I execute this step, we'll actually see the script being generated. And here you go. So why N8N automation is exploding in 2025. There is the script. We've also got a description that we can pass on to YouTube and the other social channels if we want to add a description for our video. So that node is all done. So we can close that one down. All right, so we've actually completed the first phase, if you like. This is the trending niches and script component, and we can highlight this, which is kind of good to do to make it visually easier to understand the whole flow. So we can add a note to it. I'm going to drag this up here. So I've just called it trending niche and script, this section, and I'll change the color. That's all done. Our next step is we want to generate the video component. To do that, we're going to need a HTTP request again, because we're going to be using HeyGen. So I'm just going to click on this one, go for HTTP request, add that in. I'm just going to go back to the canvas again just to make sure it actually connected so I don't get an error again, and it didn't for some reason, but don't worry, let's just hook that on there. All right, let's configure this one. So I'll open it up. First thing I'll do is I'll rename it, call it HeyGen. Now this is going to be a post request because we're going to send the script to HeyGen. So we've got a post. For the URL, I'll just type that in. So that's our endpoint, HTTPS, we've got api.heygen.com, v2 video, and generate. So for our authentication, I have previously used this, so it'll be in my list of authentications to use. So if we go to, it'll be a header auth again. Now you'll see perplexities come up because it's the first in the list, but what we can do is grab HeyGen. Next, we do need to send some headers using the fields below. So it's going to be content type, application JSON again. So that's the headers done. Now we do need to send the body of the JSON as well using JSON. What we need to put in here, this is available in HeyGen, but it's also available over here in the notes to copy in. So if I go to HeyGen JSON for a talking photo, you can see there is this JSON file here. So I'm just going to grab this. We're going to paste it in here. Now I'll open it up so you can take a look at it. So basically, there's a couple of things you want to take note of here. If you're using the free version of HeyGen, you may need to change this dimension because it only supports the lower resolution. This is on a paid plan. And the other things to take note of is the type. So we have a talking photo we're going to use. And in HeyGen, it gives IDs for all of their avatars. The scale, this is how much it zooms in when you actually want to, whether you want to zoom in further than what the natural avatar appears as. And sometimes on shorts, you may want to do that. For speed, you can speed it up a bit. I've gone with 1.1 here. The voice ID, this is also from HeyGen. We'll take a look at where you can grab that. And the input text. Now, the input text, this is actually going to be from our script that we just grabbed. So I will change this to be an expression in a minute, and that will finish this one off. You can see also, just before we jump out of it, down the bottom, I've got the aspect ratio. This is in the shorts mode, and also I've got captions turned on. If you don't want captions, just change that to false. If we jump over to HeyGen, HeyGen is going to generate our video based on our script that OpenAI has generated for us. Based on all those parameters we've just gone through, you can customize what your video is going to look like and sound like, basically. Once you have a HeyGen account, you can get started for free, and they do allow you to generate a couple of videos within the app, but we're actually going to be using the API. So if you go to your settings, you will be able to have this link here, subscriptions and API, and you'll click on this one here, HeyGen API, and you can see, I think you get 10 credits to start with, and it's probably enough to generate 10 or 15 short videos, maybe less than 30 seconds. To get your API token, you just click on this, and then you can put it back into N8N in our workflow, and that pretty much sorts that. When it comes to avatars and voices, if you click on avatars, now there's two main types of avatars. There is a talking photo, and there is another one. Let me just click over here to double check what it is. There's a talking photo and just a standard avatar. So just a bit of a tip. This one here is a standard avatar, and this one here, this is a talking photo. So if we wanted to get the ID to use this avatar, if we just click on it, and this is a talking photo, you just have to copy this. This is the ID. And when we're back over in our JSON file, talking photo ID, we would just paste that in there if we want to use this avatar. Now, if we go back, if we go into voices, you can choose any voice you like. And I think up here, get voice ID. So if you click that, you go back over into your JSON file and go down, you add your voice ID there. Now, if you run this and you get some weird errors coming up here, like voice not recognized or avatar not recognized, you've probably mixed up between using a talking photo and a standard avatar. So just be aware these are different files, and I haven't actually created these, myself. HeyGen actually provides all of this documentation. So if we click on here, and I will put the link in here for the documentation, you can actually see all the available fields. You can actually put your API key in here, and you can generate the complete list of avatars. You can pull that out here by just pressing try it. You can get the list of voices by just putting your key there and press try it, etc. So you can pull all that information down, put it into a notepad, and then you have it for yourself. So I've just tried to speed it up, the process for you, and sort of skip over it to the bits I think you really need to know. So that is pretty much HeyGen setup. When I run this, it is going to generate or kick off the process for generating a video. And then what we need to do is listen for when the video is complete. And when it is complete, that status will give us the URL and all the other information we need to post to our social channels. So with all that done, I'm going to kick off the execute step so we can generate our first video. And you can see there, it's instantly fired that off. There were no errors. It says error null. Now that sometimes looks a bit confusing, but that's actually a good thing. Data, and here's our video ID. So if we went into HeyGen, we will see this video ID generating, and it can take 3 to 5 minutes. So we will let that run, and then we can take a look at it. Now, while that is running, we're going to add the next node. So we're going to go up here, and we're going to go to set again. I'm going to grab this one here. Again, I'll just make sure it's connected. It's connected, so I can double click on it again. And I'm going to call this one set video ID. And what this is going to do, it's going to allow us to track the ID of the video until it's completed. We'll add a field, call it video ID. And the value, nice and easy, just drag and drop this over here and it'll convert this field into an expression. So you can see it here, there's the expression and there is the value. That's our video ID that's running in HeyGen. If I execute this, it's really just going to give the output of our ID, and then we will add a video status node that's going to poll HeyGen to see where the video is at. The video status will be a HTTP request. We'll just rename it like we've done with our other ones. Call it video status. It's going to be a GET request, and for the URL, I could type it in or grab it from the notes, but I know I've got it here somewhere, video status. So this is the endpoint. Paste that in there. Authentication, again, it's going to be HeyGen. That's the beauty of if you set up the credentials, how I'm going to show you, you don't have to do it over and over, you only do it once. Okay, so we do need to send some query parameters. What we want to send is the video ID. And we'll just grab that from the last step. And there it is there. Now we do need to send some headers, so we'll add these in. It's basically just going to be accept and application JSON. Okay, that is pretty much it, I think. So we can close this out. I'm going to show you another little tip. Because I don't want to keep running the entire process, because every time you run Perplexity, OpenAI, and HeyGen, you are using credits. So what you can do, you can see I've got a little pin, they've gone blue. If we just go into here and I click that, it's going to use the values that have been generated through this process. So I can just use everything to this point without actually executing it. So if I go back into video status and I go to execute step, it should be pretty quick. And there you go. So the video, while we've been doing this, it has generated, it tells you the time, it gives you a thumbnail URL, gives you the video URL, and it gives also a video URL with captions. Now, if I copied this and put it into a browser, that video is going to run and we're getting a success message. But the one we're actually looking for that I skipped over is this one here, status completed, because when we get a status completed, we can then post it to our social channels. The next step to complete the video generation process to completed, we're going to put an if statement in. So I'll just click on this one and type in if. And what we want is If you want to look at the status again, so it's here somewhere. If this status equals completed, we want to do something. So we'll go back to the canvas here. If I move this up here, you can see if it's true, do something. If it's false, do something. So if it's false, I want to send it back here. And if it's true, for now, I'll just put a wait there so I can run it. And I'll just say wait 5 seconds. Okay, so another way to run this, I'm going to pin this, and then I'm going to run it. That runs successfully. Now we can check our if statement. So if the status was complete, it should go up to wait. If it's false, it would run back down through here. Now we know it's complete, so it should head up here. And there we go. You can see this line go green. And now we're at this node ready for the next step. Now I'm just going to press the tidy up button down here and add another note. And I'll change the color to green for this one. So 2 out of our 3 phases are done. We've got our niche and script all done. We've generated our video, and now we're at the point where we are ready to post to our social channels with Blotato. Now, just before we go on to Blotato, I've just noticed something that needs to be fixed. If you look at this loop here, if it's false, go straight back to here. So this, we actually need to put a wait in here. So if you just press on this little plus, again, we can go to wait. And because we know that HeyGen takes anywhere between 2 and 6 minutes for a short kind of video, we don't want to poll it every few seconds. So I'm going to put this after a time interval, change this to minutes, and I'll just say check it every 3 minutes. Now we can move on to the final phase. So to get started on this next phase, we need to first head over to Blotato. Now, if you've never heard of it, that's okay. It's relatively new, but got a whole bunch of features, but the one we're interested in is the ability to post content to multiple social media channels simultaneously using their API. So you just log in, and once you're in there, you head over to your settings and you'll get to this page here. And you can see here we've got Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. And the first step in here is to actually connect your accounts. So to connect to YouTube, for instance, if you click on here, you get that standard authentication pop-up form, and then you can enter your details and you'll get this ID. Now, if I click on copy ID, that's going to give me the unique ID that's linked with this application and the API key that I can use over in N8N to post up to YouTube. If I scroll down a bit further, you can see this is where we can copy the API key. So I can click on copy here. And really, that's all we need to do in Blotato. One thing I will point out before we go back to N8N is they do have really good documentation. So what I'm showing you here again is coming from this documentation. It tells you what your authentication header looks like, Blotato API key, and then you put in your key. So we get all that set up, and then we're just about done. The first thing we need to do back in N8N is actually set our IDs. If I go to set, grab this, just go back because it hasn't connected it. So I'll just extend it from the wait. But in here, we'll give it a name. And then we want to add some JSON. So click on this one, we'll blow this away. Then I'll go over to my notes here. You can get this from Blotato's documentation as well. So I'm just going to copy this, paste it in here. Just note that you will have to enter in your own IDs here. And for that step, that's all we need to do. Okay, so we've got everything we need to do the next step, which is going to be a HTTP request to Blotato. Go to HTTP. Now we'll give it a name. So we'll call it Blotato Video Upload, rename. Now this will be a post request. The URL, I can grab that here. It's in Blotato's documentation as well. Next we have authentication. So pretty straightforward. A credential type. Again, it'll be auth, the header auth. And I'm going to grab Blotato. And if you click on this, you can see the exact setup. So it was Blotato-API-key, which we saw in the the notes, and then you just add the API key. So now we do need to send across some JSON in the body. So we'll click on this one. Now what we want to do here is we'll use the specified fields. This is going to be URL and the value of it. We're going to need to execute the previous node so we can grab that. All right, so that did run okay. Next, we need to just open this up, and what we're looking for is either we want the video URL or the URL caption. So I'm after the one with the captions. And that's converted into an expression. If we open this up, we can see what the variables are within this when they're shown here. So this is the result. That's the URL. So that is all good. There is nothing else we need to do on this one. So I'll just go back. And if you did get this far and you're still watching, you might have noticed this had a little error on it. If I open it up, what it was is I copied the title from my notes across here, and it had a little red underscore. Delete that, and then it's all good. So I'll close that one back out. What I want to do is actually run this node, and then I want to pin it. The first social media channel we're going to post to is YouTube because we've already got that set up. But we might want to customize our description because often you want to include a link and that type of thing. And from OpenAI, it will just generate that base description. So if I click on here and we go to set, what we can do is click in this one and we can call this YouTube description. We'll update this. And then in the value, what you can do is combine the description that's coming from OpenAI, and you may want to add in something before this that is like your link, a URL, so you can combine the AI generated description plus your own custom link for your call to action, that type of thing. So that's all we need to do here. It's optional. You can skip this step if you just want to use the base AI description. Now, the next part is pretty quick and easy. All we have to do is duplicate that node, connect it up, open this one up, call it YouTube, rename it. It is going to be a post. We just changed this to posts. Credentials are all set. So we do want to send the JSON body. If we scroll down a bit, you want to make this using JSON. Click on here. If we go over to my notes, and paste it in here. Now, if I open this up, what you're going to see is these variables are coming through, so that's okay. But we want to add the actual title in, and we want our description coming through. So what we can do is close this and find them in here. So this one here is the description. So to get that, I just need to execute this previous node. And there it is there. So I will select this one because if you customize it, you'll get your customized version. So just grab it and drag it into there. And the other one we needed to update was the video title. So if you delete that out, OpenAI, and there is our title there. And that is it. All right, let's talk API keys. Let's do the simple ones first. For SERP API, super easy. Just get your API key and paste it in there. That's it. For OpenAI, again, double click on it, click on this one, paste in your API key. All done. Now, for the others that use HTTP, this is the approach you need to take if you want to make it really simple for this project and future projects. So let's look at Perplexity. It's a HTTP request. So I've just added a demo node down here so I can show you how to do this. So I'm going to open it up. If I go to the notes, what you can see here for Perplexity is that it's a header authentication with a bearer token. So what that means is the name for the authorization is going to be authorization, and the value is going to have a prefix of bearer. So I'm going to copy authorization, go back here. We're going to go to generic credential type, and then you want to select header auth because that's what it told us it was. and then in this drop down, create new credential. Now it said it was authorization, and then in the value, all you need to do is have the word bearer and a space and then your API key and paste it in there, hit save, and you're done. I'll just close that one. Now the next one here was HeyGen. So if we open up this, if I go over to my notes here, if you have a look at HeyGen, here it is. So again, it's a header auth credential. The name is x-api-key. Now this is super important that you get this exactly right. If I go back here, again, generic credential type, header auth, create a new one. The name is that, and then you just enter in the API key. I don't think this one has bearer in front of it. No, it's just the API key from HeyGen, which was here somewhere. So you just copy it from here and paste it over there. So that's HeyGen done. Now our final API call is with Blotato. So I'll open this one up. If I go over to the notes here, Blotato credentials. So again, it's header auth. The name is going to be authorization. So we go to here, again, generic, header auth, create a new one, put authorization in, and just double check it doesn't have bearer. It does have bearer, so we need a bearer, a space, and then the Blotato API key. And that is what you paste there, hit save, and you're all good. So I hope that makes sense. And once you've done that, any of your projects that you're using that uses the authentication for these resources, you just select it like I have when I've built this workflow. To execute it within here without scheduling a trigger, you just hit execute workflow. And there you go, it's published to YouTube. This is the second channel I set up. I initially set it up purely so I could post the short form videos here to make sure everything was working perfectly. But what happened was completely unexpected. If I click on content and then click on shorts, these are all the videos that have been posted in about the last 3 or 4 days. This video here is the one we just did. We go over to the channel itself and I click on more. You can see I did put in the description that this is a demo channel for my main channel. But if we go down the bottom, I've had nearly 6,000 views. What if you could track your keyword rankings against competitors and get notified on autopilot? With this automation, you can do just that. The automation loops through the Google SERP data and then it intelligently filters the results, saves it, and messages it to you. Let me show you how all this works and how you can get set up in just a few minutes. So the quickest way to get started with this is get yourself an N8N account and then head over to my Online Ninja community, go to the classroom, scroll down and get to this one here, N8N SEO Ranking Tracker. Just click on here and grab this JSON file. Then once you're in your N8N, you just go up to the top here, import the file. Okay, the first node in any workflow is going to be a trigger. In this workflow, it's just a manual trigger, but you could kick this off with Slack, or it could be on a timed schedule like once a day, once a week, whatever it is you like. The next node we've got here, this is where we set our domain. We want to track our competitors and our keyword. So if I just open this one up, we can see we've got the website, keyword, and competitors. Now I can execute this and we can see the data. Really what we're getting here is just putting the data into a JSON object, which can be then passed on to our next node in a structured format. Okay, so the next node in our workflow is the loop over items. The way I have this set up, this node is actually redundant in many ways because we're only analyzing one keyword. But if you wanted to set it up to analyze multiple keywords, it will loop through and get the results for each keyword until it's finished and then move on to the next step. For now, it's really just passing through that one keyword, which was web hosting. So now we can jump over into the next node, which is a HTTP request. Let's just open it up. This node here, it's calling serper.dev, and this is where it gets the Google data from. Serper.dev, it's a website that you can access and get 2,500 credits totally free. And if we go into the dashboard, you can see I've been using it a bit. This is a great tool to get Google search data, not only for this type of automation, but for lots of other SEO type automations. Now, if we go back over into N8N, to get this working, basically, we have to put this URL in. It's going to be a generic type credential, and we set up a custom auth, and I give it a name. We are sending across headers, and it has to be in this format. We have this x-api-key, and we also have content type JSON. Next, we have send body. Now, this is the format that we need to have in the send body, and basically, it's going to pass on the keyword. Now, I can execute this so you can see the data coming out. There are 100 results for our keyword web hosting. Next, we have a Google Sheets node. And the reason we're doing that is to record the data that's coming out of this HTTP request. It's pretty straightforward. All you need to do is hook up your Google Sheets account, and then we just map in the data that we want to record. So we do need a unique ID for each row, and then we get keywords, website, competitors, related keywords. People also ask, which there was no data when we ran this, and then the organic results. Then we split the data out. So if I go into related search data, you can see here that these are related search queries. So web hosting free, web hosting services, best web hosting. I think you get the picture. So we can capture that data and we can save it in our spreadsheet. People also ask, now this one's empty. It doesn't always appear in search results. And it also then doesn't appear in the data we get through serper.dev. We capture it anyway because if a particular keyword does generate it, we can record it. The next one is the actual organic search results. There's 100 of them here. Won't go through them. Once that's done, it goes up to this filter. In the filter, the reason we're using that is what we want to do is we want to search for the domain that we're tracking. So if our domain is digitalocean.com, that's what we want to get the results for in the 100 search results. And then we also want to filter on the results for our competitors, and then we can see where we're ranking versus our competitors. And this is the structure of the filter. So I can execute this one. And what you can see here is out of the 100 results that came back, 0 to 99, it kept 6 and it got rid of 93 of them. Once we get those results, we want to sort them. So sorting them ascending, then we aggregate them. So I'm going to hit execute on the aggregate. Now, once we executed this one, it saves another Google Sheet. It actually just updates the ranking data into a column, and then we get the Telegram. So if I run this one, we should get a Telegram notification that we can take a look at. And here you go. We've just got the Telegram. So it comes back and says rankings for keyword web hosting. We've got all our competitors listed, and you can see they're outperforming us in terms of our target one we want to track, which is digitalocean.com, which is ranking at 95. Okay, so to get your Telegram message every day or every week, we're just going to make one minor change to this workflow. We're going to delete the first node, and we're going to add a new one, a schedule trigger. Go back to the canvas, and we're just going to hook that onto here, open it up, and then we might have this run every 7 days, 1 p.m. There we go. So that's how you would automate it, and then you just activate it. So I think the easiest way to show you how this works is actually run a quick demo. We have an N8N automation and we have a user interface which can be added to any website. The demo I've set it up as though this would be added to an accounting firm's website, but this works with any niche. So you can see down here I've activated the automation and it's waiting for the trigger event. And that trigger event is going to come from this here, which can be added, as I said, to any website. So we just enter in our email address, continue to customer service. Now at this section here, if we're on an accounting site and someone's looking for information, they might be looking for tax prep, bookkeeping, etc. I'll just go for a general inquiry and then I'll just ask my question. How much is a tax return for my family? So then we can just kick off the consultation. Here's our response back. It's fairly comprehensive. It details what a family tax return is and how much an individual. So this could be anything for any niche depending on what information we provide the AI agent. Why do people bounce and why don't they convert? They don't get what they want and it's too hard. So the idea of this, make your information available to your website visitors, and when they need to or want to and ready to, they can book a meeting. To do that, they just click book a meeting. You can make your booking and it links straight across into your Google Calendar as well if that's the way you want to set it up. Okay, I'm going to take you through how to build this N8N automation. If you want to skip all that and actually just get your hands on the .json file that constructs this, you can grab it from my Online Ninja community. Just head over there, join up. The link will be the first one in the description. Okay, so to break down the AI agent, we have 7 components. We have a webhook, AI agent, a respond to webhook node, and then we have a chat model, which is like the brains of the entire automation. We have some memory, and this is where we add the business specific information, a Google Sheet and a Google Doc. So let's quickly run through how this all hangs together. With a webhook, what N8N does is provides 2 URLs, a test URL and a production URL. This is what is over in the web app, and when the user asks a question, that data is sent to this endpoint and processed. It's then passed over into the AI agent. There are 2 main things you need to look out for in the AI agent. We have a user message, and the user message is just grabbing the body of the message that came across from the webhook, which is this component here, and you can see in it, it says how much is a tax return for my family. The system message, it's a bit more complicated. You can modify it for any type of business. Obviously, it's set up to be an accounting firm at the moment. So if you were doing a car dealership or a physiotherapist, you just modify this so it knows the kind of business that it is. The important parts in here are actually the tooling section. So what the prompt tries to do is say, if the user asks for questions, say about accounting pricing, go to the spreadsheet and get the prices. If it asks about services, go to the document and get the service information and provide it back. Now, in terms of selecting an LLM or an AI model to make this work, I've gone with Anthropic. I actually have tested this with a few others, and it doesn't seem to be able to work as well. The Anthropic Claude Sonnet 4 is what I'm using, and that's what I would recommend. Next, we can take a look at the memory. Having a context window length of around 20 is pretty reasonable. If you need to, you can increase it or you can reduce it, but I think 20 is a pretty good number. Next, we have Google Sheets and Google Docs. Now, this is the super important piece that you need to get your head around if you want to set this up correctly. This example is set up for an accounting firm, so I've deliberately made it so we've got a Google Sheet and a Google Doc so you can understand how you can set this up in different ways depending on your niche. So for an accounting firm, you may have a price list for all the different services that you offer. So if we go to the Google Sheet that this AI agent is referencing via the tools process, you can see here we've got individual, family, and business tax. Now you could make this as simple or as complex as you need for your business. The other node it's referencing is a Google Doc. So for every business, you might have your operating procedures, your services, your features, your benefits, typical questions, and this type of thing. So this document, the AI agent can read it. And so when a question comes in, it goes through the document and formulates an appropriate response. And that could be a combination of the pricing and the Google Doc, or one or the other. And if you go back over here, you can see when that test run went, it actually only went and looked at the Google Sheet. And then the AI drafts a response and then it returns it back. That is how it works. So for a different type of business, you basically just load up your Google Doc and your Google Sheet with all the information that's appropriate for your site visitors to be able to get the information they need and hopefully go ahead and hit that book a call button. And the way I've got this set up is that if the user does decide to book a call, when they press that book a call button or let's meet one-on-one, whatever, it actually will send a response back here, and this if statement will detect if it's a booking or whether they're still chatting. This is totally configurable just for whichever way you want it to work for your business or your client's business. So if you want to try to build this automation with a web app interface, I'm going to do a really quick run through here, and if you need more help or guidance, head over to my community. So we need a webhook trigger. So we just click on here, type in webhook, and we need this one here. For now, we don't need anything with it. Later, we will need this URL. Then we need to get our AI agent. Just type in AI agent. We're just going to hook up all the bits and pieces. Then we need a respond to webhook node, and that's hooked up. Now we said our brain was going to be Anthropic, so we just click on this node here, Anthropic chat model. That will do the trick. And then Claude Sonnet 4, and I want to set the maximum tokens. I think I said 8192. So that is done. The memory, we'll go with simple memory, 20. And then we need a Google Sheet. And we plus here, and then we'll go with a Google Doc, the Google Doc tool. Now, the good news is with Google Sheets and Google Docs, to authenticate and connect them is pretty easy. If you've got the Google account, you just sign in with it and you get your access. My next step is to actually send something to this webhook. And to do that, we need to build our app. Okay, so if you don't know how to code, no problem. I'm going to do this in Lovable and I'll show you exactly what you need to do. I've got this prompt here and we're going to try to basically one-shot the first MVP of this web app that will talk to our N8N automation. I'm not going to go through it all, but it is set up for an accounting firm. You would modify this to be whatever niche you want. The other important thing to note within this requirements document that we're looking at here is this endpoint. The endpoint is what I showed you in the webhook trigger. You just copy that. This is the test one because we're in building phase. And this is the endpoint that we would swap in here. So if you want to copy this prompt, just make sure you change the endpoint. The other thing to note, because we want to be able to book meetings after the person's got their information, they want to move ahead, I've given a Calendly link here. So Lovable will incorporate this into the workflow. We should be able to have a chat and then book a meeting. So we'll just paste this in here and we will see what happens. So this is what Lovable has built for us based on the project requirements document. So if you go over here, you can see I've had to delete out the Google Sheet and the Google Doc because it's not configured and it's got an error sitting on it. You can't actually execute the workflow to test the first node. Second thing to be aware of, if you open up this webhook, just make sure you have a post method because we're posting data from our web interface over into N8N. With that done, if I press execute, this will run and wait for our post request coming from our newly built app. So if I enter in the email here, go to the service. Okay, again, I'll just go for general. Then we'll just ask a basic question. I'm just going to ask hello. All I'm trying to do is initiate and make sure the message and the email that I'm using is sent over to N8N. So send the message. Now we'd expect to get that because we haven't configured everything else, but we can take a look and see if the payload from this chat was received. We can see the webhook's got a bit of a green indicator there. We can see test1 at test.com and the message hello. The chat interface is working. If we want to continue finishing this off, basically the approach is we go to our AI agent. We want to define this below. Now I've added this in here, which is json.stringify and then this JSON body. And if we go down here, just bring in this data here so that the AI agent can have that for context to take the next step. The next part is we want to add a system prompt. So if you click on add an option, we go to system message. You're a helpful assistant. We can get rid of that. Now I'm going to paste in the system prompt that I showed earlier. And you'll see a lot of this is red, but we can fix that up. So it's picked up that correctly. Down here, service type, session ID, message ID. This is from the previous build I did. So we can then fix these up. So the service type, if we want to use it, it's just called service in this one. So we drag and drop that there. Now that's green. The session ID, there it is there. And the message type, that's a user message. That completes the setup of the AI agent. So we're at the point now where we can just about actually get a response back to our web app. One thing we do need to do, if I go back into the AI agent and I just scroll down, I need to grab this session ID. So just copy it from here, which we previously confirmed was correct, and go into the simple memory, change this to define below, and then add it in here as the key. And just set that context window to 20 if you haven't already. If I execute this workflow, even though we haven't added in our spreadsheet or our Word doc, the AI agent should be smart enough to work out if it doesn't know to tell us to book a meeting or that type of thing. So over here, if I just go, what are your office hours? It should come back and say something to the effect that it doesn't know, but it can tell us. Okay, thanks for your question. I'd be happy to provide more detailed information, but the best way is to, through a consultation, schedule a meeting. So all of this is customizable based on what you put in that system prompt for when it cannot find the answer. And over here, you can see the data came in, the agent processed it, it used the memory, it used Anthropic, and it returned the data back to our app. And just a little tip on that, respond to webhook. In our main webhook, just make sure you've got this set to respond to webhook node. That's what actually makes the process wait and send that data back. So the final two steps is just adding the Google Sheet and the Google Doc. Just connect the Google Sheet and the Google document with the information for your business, and that's it. After this point, you just connect this up to whatever kind of notifications you want. I did Telegram, but hey, you can do whatever you like. Now, to wrap this up, you're probably wondering, how do I get this lovable application component onto a website? I think the easiest way to do this is actually publish this to a custom domain that is very similar to the website you're sending it to. So if it was XYZ Accounting, it might be xyzaccountingagent.com, publish it, and then on the main site, you just have a button or a link for help, which will render this page, and you can get Lovable to update the theme, the coloring, the style to match. So for anyone using it, it'll appear completely integrated and part of that site. And the last step in this process, site visitor has their chat and they decide to book a meeting. I've got it configured so it'll open up this Calendly app. Everyone knows how it works. Just select your time and the preferred day, and away you go. And everyone gets a meeting request and it automatically goes into your Gmail calendar. In this video, I'm going to show you the bestest, fastest, and cheapest way to make your first $1,000 with AI and SEO. To get started, we're going to use Telegram and we're just going to write the word start. Then we get a message back. I'm your business starter AI agent. Let's get your new digital agency its first $1,000 client to get started. Just enter your website or the business you'd like to target and your email address. So I'll just put in a website, email address, and let's see what happens. We'll start the stopwatch and see how long it takes to return this information. Okay, so we've got the message back from Telegram that this is finished. Now we can go and take a look at the output, which is going to help us get our first $1,000 AI SEO client. From the process that was run, we get a couple of artifacts. The very first one we get is an SEO audit report. This audit report is for the URL we entered in, which was picture.com.au, and we've got a score of 72 out of 100. We'll just run through the information we get back. So website overview, this is coming from the title tag. So it tells us a bit about the website and what they do. Next, we get the page speed performance. Now this data here we're looking at is actually coming from Google PageSpeed API. It's the Lighthouse data. So instantly you can see what their web core vitals are and their performance and SEO score. So this is the mobile performance. It's not looking great. It probably needs a bit of work. SEO is rated as good. If we go down a bit further, we get a competitor analysis. We get some SEO opportunities, case study, and some differentiators. Then we have critical fixes, quick wins, high priority, medium priority. So the SEO audit report is designed to give a snapshot of the business, if it needs SEO work done and how it could benefit from that type of work. So typically we would run this a few times until we find a business that has got a low overall SEO score and their website looks like it needs a little bit of work. So let's run one of those. So there's a bunch of ways you can get leads to get started depending on your niche. The way I do it is I use Apify and the Google Maps email scraper. Super easy to use and super cheap. So to get like 100 accounting leads and you get their email address, the website, all that stuff, Costs about 30 cents. And you just enter in the search terms. So I've got accounting, accountant, accountants for Melbourne. And then we get a list of data. And this is the type of data we get back. So I'll pick one of these websites, we'll run the SEO report, and then we get the second artifact and take it from there. Okay, I've selected another website. So to audit this one, we just go start. And I'll enter in the website. It's thetaxlady.com.au and my email address again, and we'll kick it off. Okay, so Telegram's finished. I'll pause this. About 2 minutes. We'll take a look at the SEO report. So this is the SEO audit report. It's just arrived in my inbox. It's for the tax lady. It's 45 out of 100. To me, that says it's worth taking a look at. All right, so as a point of reference, this is the tax lady's website. And there's nothing wrong with it, but to be honest, there's actually nothing right with it either. Even the basics, if you hover on the tab, the title says thetaxlady.com.au and home. It doesn't even say it's an accountant. So this site, from an SEO point of view, doesn't even have the most basic things going on. With that in mind, that is why we're also going to build the tax lady a brand new website to go with our audit report, to package it up to her and say, hey, I think we can help you and your business. So when the process runs that we kicked off with Telegram, it generates artifact 1, the SEO audit report, but it generates artifact 2, which is a complete PRD to build a new website. And the way it does this is by scraping the entire website, the tax lady, bringing that information in, and then getting an AI agent to actually generate a PRD to build a new version of that website, but obviously better, modern, and with all the SEO issues resolved. So with the PRD that's been generated, all we need to do is copy it, and we're going to take it over to Lovable and watch this. Just paste in the prompt that was generated and go. Okay, it's just finished and now it is rendering our new site. So here it is, and just to show you that this was done in just one AI prompt, nothing else. If we go to the settings, we can see here it says AI edits count is 1. So this entire site was built with just the PRD that was generated in Artifact 2. Now, full disclosure, I did generate another site for the tax lady before I did this video just to make sure everything was all going to work, so I can show you that. And because you can do this with just one shot, it's worth doing a couple, I think, so you can pick the best one. This was the first one it generated. I like this one, and I think this is the one I will put the link to in the email when we send it to the tax lady. And if we quickly just take a look at the original website, I think if you did an A/B test of this website versus this website, you're going to find you're going to get a lot more clicks, a lot more inquiries, even if the SEO wasn't fixed. This website just pops and it looks professional, it's up to date, and it's modern. Okay, just quickly, I'm going to run you through how this actually all works behind the scenes. There is an N8N automation. It's triggered by Telegram, which you've seen. Then it takes that website that we've entered in and it scrapes it. That's what this get details is doing. It messages the model, so it goes off to Perplexity and does some of the research. More of the research is also done here by an agent. Then we actually tap into Google's Lighthouse page speed API. Then we head down to the SEO audit packaging component where we can render out a really good looking HTML email. And the final part of the process, which is shown in the green here, which is the website build PRD. What this chat model is doing is taking the entire scraped website, all the HTML, the CSS information, and it is generating a PRD document that will be able to be provided to Bolt or Lovable to produce a new modern website based on all the details of the current one. And that's a bit of the secret sauce of how we can produce a new version, a better version of the existing website. Now, if you would like to get yourself a copy of the N8N template and the instructions on how to actually set this up, just head over to the first link in the description and you can grab it there at my school community. Now, I've prepared this email template for SEO outreach. You can take a look at it. I will leave a copy of this in the community as well if you want to use this. But something like this is what I would suggest. Key findings from the SEO audit report, and also pointing out that you're maybe a local developer and you've generated a new website for them to take a look at. There's a very good chance 1 in 10 of this type of approach will come back to you and say, yes, I have used this approach. And I think if you're just starting out, maybe learning the ropes, $1,000 is very reasonable for this type of service. And if you're a bit more experienced, you might be able to get between $3,000 and $10,000. So we're talking fairly serious money here for what is a scope of work that is not that difficult to deliver. For 20 years, we've tried to rank on Google. Now you need to rank in Google. The key to this is Generative Engine Optimization, or GEO. I've got a Telegram bot here, and we can just kick it off with a start message. And it says, I'm your GEO AI agent. Just enter the website you would like to optimize for GEO and your email address, and let's get started. So let's enter in website and an email address. I've got these ones here, so I'll just kick this off. And while this is running, I'll quickly explain exactly what GEO is and why it matters. So since forever, we've tried to appear in search listings. Front page at the top is ideal, but now we want to actually be in Google, not on Google. Optimizing for GEO is about appearing in ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, and Google overview searches. Okay, and back on Telegram, I've got the response here that our GEO agent has completed the task. The website I entered in Telegram to be analysed, if you like, was thetaxlady.com.au. This is the email that goes through the analysis. We have the website, when it was done, and an overall score and a grade. So 48 out of 100. The grade was D, which is poor. We get a bit of an executive summary. So this breaks down the major factors. So we have content, structure and format, clarity and directness, EEAT implementation, entity optimization, factual accuracy, and technical elements. So you can see the ratings here. So this gives us an idea of what we would need to focus on to modify this website to increase the chances of appearing in generative responses. So we get a full breakdown of the analysis, and this runs through every single component, but we'll head down to the bottom to the top optimizations and the overall assessments. It says the tax lady's website score was below average, and it's got the basic structure elements, but it's focused on traditional SEO and user conversion rather than for AI-friendly content structuring. We, of course, could manually go off and start making these changes, but I've got a better way, and that's going to be using an AI tool to actually rebuild it to address the GEO recommendations and to have a site that's ready to start appearing in generative search results. Now, just so we don't get lost in the process, there are 5 steps to optimize any website for GEO. Now, we've actually done step 1 already. We've got a review of the content and the technical aspects, but now we need to do steps 2 through to 5. Lucky for us, we can actually do this all with AI. So in addition to the email where we get our full analysis and report of the GEO status, we also get a PRD. It is 7 pages, over 2,000 words, and nearly 17,000 characters. The tool that generated this report, it did it by scraping the target website, comparing the technical and content structure, and then writing a document that keeps the essence and the theme and the branding of the original site, but reconstructs it to meet the requirements for GEO. All we need to do is copy this, and we'll give it to Lovable to regenerate a new GEO-based site. All right, so I'm over in Lovable, and believe it or not, you can actually do this on the free plan. This is only going to take 1 shot to generate from all the testing I've done. So we just paste in the prompt here. This is the PRD document we got, and let's run it. Okay, so our site is just about ready. It's just rendering now, and we can take a look. So as a reminder, this was our reference site. This is what we're looking to update to be geo ready. And this is the site that Lovable has generated in one shot. I think you're going to agree, this site looks amazing. If we scroll down a bit, we have the principal consultant here and a bit about them. This helps with trust. The site is very well laid out. We have all the cards for all the services. This is not only visually easy to read, and AI can read it very well because it's structured cards. And going down further, we have the testimonials, but we also have the FAQ. So this allows the AI to answer a question. If someone says, I'm looking for an accountant in this area who can do my tax, these kind of things can be easily rendered up as an accurate response that meets search needs. And finally, down the bottom, we've got a very clear contact form, which gives the phone number, the email, the address, everything. So I think overall, the process has worked extremely well. We've been able to analyze a site and reproduce a new one optimized not only for SEO, but for GEO. Now, this is the automation that makes it happen. It's been built in N8N for a couple of reasons. There are a few code blocks here that really work best in N8N compared to, say, Zapier or Make.com. The process itself, as we saw, it's kicked off with Telegram. It runs through a process of scraping the website. It goes to Perplexity. It does some research. These code blocks are more related to formatting the data that's coming in. We email the response out, but we also save a copy to Google Drive. And this one here, this one is a bit special. It's Google Gemini Pro 2.5, and we need it because we need a massive context window to take all that data that is obtained in the research process. And then we save the PRD document. How to convert an N8N workflow into a complete app. So I'm going to try to show you every step of the process. It should work, but it might not, because twice today it hasn't worked for me, but with a bit of luck, it'll work this time. The key takeaway is you can do this with any workflow and you can convert it into an app. And if you do run into trouble, which I might today, I can show you some of the methods I use to resolve it. You don't need any coding skills. Anyone can do this, but you might need a bit of perseverance. And let's get started, because I don't know how long this is going to take. So the workflow that I'm going to modify is this one here. It was from the video How to Rank in Google, Not on Google. And all we're going to do is remove some of these Telegram inputs, the outputs, and then hook up a webhook to send the data into it, and have a responder webhook to send the data back to our web app. To get started, what we're going to do is, this is the workflow automation that was from the previous video that's unmodified. What we want to do is duplicate it. And to do that, you go up to the three dots and hit duplicate. When you do that, you'll get asked to give it a new name and it'll open up a new tab. So that's exactly what I've done here. And if you compare the two, you'll see I've removed these nodes, these three nodes, and these three nodes, and that is it. Now, just to speed this up a bit, I can bring in this webhook and connect it. I can also add this merge node and a respond to webhook node. So the reason we have a merge node is we combine the data out of this node and this node. So to do that, we connect this one into input 1 and this one into input 2, and then it goes over to this final node here, respond to webhook. So that is our complete setup. The first time we run it, it's going to take a bit of time because it's got to go through all of this. Important things to note, in your initial webhook here, you need to have using respond to webhook in this response here, otherwise you'll get errors. Super important, and this is our endpoint. So we do need to copy this. Not just now though, copied it a bit too early. All right, so if you can describe the workflow, you can give it to Lovable and tell it to build the app. I'm going to try to speed that up a bit today because I've done a requirements document here. I'll scroll back up to the top. So development brief, it runs through the user journey. You put in the URL, you process it, you wait, and you get the output. So I'm going to copy this document and then I'm going to put it into Lovable. No, I'm not. That's the URL. I need to copy this put this into Lovable. And then over here, I need to get the webhook. So I've copied that, put it back here. This is the end webhook URL. Okay, now we're going to let Lovable build it. Based on our requirements document. Now, while this is building, I'm not going to set up authentication. If we go over to our requirements document here, scroll down a bit, it says technical integration. So we've got a webhook, our response, that's coming back from N8N, 2 objects. We have timeout, we've got a long timeout period because it can take a while to run the automation. It's going to be a single page app. There's no backend required, there's no authentication required, and no database. Now, you could actually add all these if you wanted to convert it into a full, like SaaS or a paid app. The way you would do that, if we go back over to Lovable, you can see up the top here it says Manage Superbase. So you can connect this into Superbase and it will then allow you to add authentication and also store data in terms of like Stripe payment, whether the account is active or not active, or a paid account, not paid account. You can also integrate it with GitHub, link it out to your GitHub account, which then allows you to hook it up with Netlify or another hosting platform where you can render out your project and then make it available to the world on a custom domain. So they're probably more advanced kind of features, but definitely once you've got this sort of down, you can move on to adding authentication and have a play around with Superbase. With a bit of luck, this is not going to take much longer. I did a previous stream of this today, but the first one worked out fine. I was just trying to actually make this a bit shorter and a bit more consolidated. So I did it again, and the output from the merge node was corrupted, and doing it live is probably not ideal, although it may be entertaining for anyone watching because everything I did didn't work. So who knows, I might hit that same problem again now, but hopefully this will actually work the way it should. Looks like it's just about finished. Shouldn't be too much longer, I would say. Okay, should get a little sound in a second. There we go. All right, it's getting towards the end of my day here, so I'm really hoping this does work. Okay, so far so good. Here's our input. That's the bit I'm really concerned with. The cosmetics we can fix very easily. So let's get a copy of the URL. Let's paste it in here. Let's activate our automation. I'll save it first. This is it. So it's running. I've executed it. So it's waiting for the data to hit this endpoint. So with a bit of luck, let's see what happens. If I go back over here, we can see it's actually starting to run. So that's a good sign. The endpoint was entered incorrectly. It has scraped the web, so that's what this get details node is doing. Now it's gone to Perplexity, then it'll do some research and synthesize the data that's coming out of these two. And this node here is just a code node. It will convert the output into Markdown. Another code node, it's really just converting the same information into HTML, which can be rendered a bit nicer if we want to use it in other places. Then we head down to Gemini, which has got a massive context window. It can take all the data from up here and generate a PRD. And then the merge node takes the data from the HTML node and over here, the PRD, and creates an object that the respond to webhook node can send back to our app. And the previous problems I've ran into is the app accesses one of the outputs being the PRD, but it's been having trouble getting the actual audit report. So we'll see what happens. It also may time out too the first time. It's still running, so that's good. We're still going? No, it has stopped. So it's actually timed out over here. So we can fix that quite easily. But what we'll do is when this finishes, we'll pin all these nodes and then run it again. It must be just about done. I can start pinning them. Pin, 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 pin this one. This is the big one. That will do. I'll press save on this, go back over here. So it didn't return anything because it timed out over here. So what I'm going to do is just refresh this. Then activate our workflow again, so it's waiting, and it'll get a response back pretty quick this time. And unbelievably, the first part has worked. So this is the geo-analysis report. This was the bit I was having trouble with in the 2 previous streams I did, which I had to abort. So this has worked okay, and the PRD has worked as well. So this is what the app should do first time. I don't know what occurred in the previous builds. If it wasn't live, I would have just kept working through and solved it. But basically that is how you take an N8N workflow like this. We remove these nodes. We added in just the webhook node. The only other change I made here is this bit here, which is the json.body.url, because the previous workflow was getting its data coming in from Telegram. So that's pretty much, that's the only change. And then the merge node, it's just how it is by default. When you add it, it'll have append 2 inputs, so nothing to do on that one. And this, nothing again as well, just all incoming items, it'll send back. So that is the app. It's fully functional and working. We can make it live on the web now. We just go to publish it. And we can head out to the preview site here. with a bit of luck, that is. So here it is. Now, bit of a hot tip, if you're into SEO and you want to see what's rendering out in terms of your metadata, meta description. Now, I don't know if Lovable's actually added it yet, but if I hit Control U, we can see that it's actually added the SEO details. So we've got meta title here and the meta description. So this web app is pretty much done. If I wanted to, I could push this out onto a custom domain. I could add authentication, I could add pricing and payments and the database. It's not for today. I think I'm done, but I hope you've got a bit of value from that. If you've got any questions, drop them in the comments. I'll also link the video that this workflow was based on, either of the previous live streams. The first one did work. I just wanted to do a consolidated one. The second one, it got corrupted. I started again and it actually did what it should have on the third attempt. So yeah, the thing with AI coding, and if you have no actual coding skills and you're just relying on it, it can require a little bit of perseverance to get there in the end. But my advice would be don't give up. Every time you try, you'll learn a bit more. And yeah, good luck.